Weathering the Seasons Winter. From forecasting storms to extreme cold to the frozen fun, we're all about embracing the winter season. Well, thanks for joining us for Weathering the Seasons. I'm Belinda Jensen, and over the next half hour, I'll be joined by my fellow care meteorologists, the whole team, to talk about all things winter, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But let's just start out by talking about what does winter mean in Minnesota? Winter 101. Okay, let's start with duration. It typically lasts winter about 5 months solid, from November to March. But we all know that it can start earlier and last longer. The shortest day in Minneapolis is 8 hours and 46 minutes. That, of course, happens in the winter on the solstice. In International Falls, the shortest day is 8 hours and 17 minutes. That's it. Now, when it comes to snow, the average snowfall for the metro, the 30-year average, is 51.2 inches. And for Duluth, it is 88.5 inches for the winter season. The coldest span of days happens in January from the 15th to the 24th. And in the metro, the average high is only 23 and the average low is 8 degrees Fahrenheit. But we all know it can drop a lot further than that. So let's talk about severe cold. Here's meteorologist Ben Deary.
Winter nights in Minnesota can be bitterly cold, and the most frigid temperatures all have the same weather setup. First off, you need a clear sky, allowing for any heat that built up during the day to escape. Next, a fresh snowpack helps to refrigerate the ground, and a calm wind allows the coldest temperatures to settle and sink to the ground. Now, these are the coldest temperatures each station has recorded across the upper Midwest. You can see in the Twin Cities, 41 below, that's as cold as we've been, 43 degrees below zero in St. Cloud, but the coldest temperature ever recorded in the state was back on February the 2nd, 1996, the city of Tower. On this date, the temperature plummeted to 60 degrees below zero. And while most of us can't even fathom 60 below, this state record is not without controversy. Check this out.
Through the night, Roland conferred with his supporters, but it seemed that his minus 53 reading simply towered over Tower's minus 60, which is bad.
We're still at 58, gang.
It's kind of frustrating because when you look at these temperatures, we got so close to it, and we couldn't get over it.
But did the desire to sink to new depths cause the Tower team to take the low road? They moved the thermometer to a low spot with a 73 below reading. Wait a minute, is that legal?
The referee for today's game is
the National Weather Service.
But since the thermometer had been moved around and essentially managing the temperature, we believe that that is not a representative temperature.
So Tower's out and Embarrass is mint, right? Tower gets the record with the minus 60 before the thermometer was moved, and they went bananas.
This will play good in Omaha.
Hey, I'm Sunrise meteorologist John Ziegler, and of course winter means extreme snow in Minnesota. The number one biggest snowstorm belongs to the Halloween blizzard, of course, 28.4 inches. You would be surprised that number two doesn't fall in December, February, or March. It actually fell in 1985, November 29th, the Thanksgiving weekend snowstorm of 21.1 inches. And what about a season? Well, Duluth takes the cake here. This is more recent, 2022 and 2023. Duluth picked up a whopping 140.1 inches of snow during the winter season.
Well, now that we've talked snow and cold and Winter 101, how do we forecast a winter storm? So I've got my team here. We don't get to see each other very often. So this is actually super fun. And I love the fact that we're talking winter because, of course, it encompasses a lot of our lives and a lot of the forecasting. So let's start out by talking about the kinds of winter storms that we get here in Minnesota. Ben.
Okay, so we have two major types of winter storms. We have our big Colorado lows and we have our Alberta clippers. So the Colorado lows, those are the strong low pressure systems that originate and develop in the Colorado area. They tend to bring lots of moisture and they can dump heavy snows. I mean, we're talking half a foot plus. Those are our big time snowstorms, but they also tend to bring warmer temperatures as well. Alberta clippers, they tend to bring us less snowfall, but they can bring the cold temperatures. And it really doesn't take a whole lot of moisture for just a little Alberta clipper to drop 3-6 inches of snow followed by sub-zero temperatures.
It's all about the ratio. It's all about the temperature profile. It's all about the pattern. And we have a lot. This is the Super Bowl of weather. We all know that. Okay, so as meteorologists, we're all looking out, what's going to happen the next day and the next day, but we're also looking out 6, 7, 10 days out. So when a storm is really far away, just coming out of Japan, middle of the Pacific, how do we know, Jamie, that it's actually going to possibly affect us?
Well, what we're looking at is the big picture, and we're going to be looking at that track. So what we're watching is the Pacific, the western part of the U.S., western part of Canada, and we're going to be watching forecast models giving us that track. But what we really want to find or see is the consistency and the agreement. So as these forecast models run on their intervals, we're going to look for that consistency from run to run to run. But we also would like to see agreement between the forecast models. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses and their habits. But as the consistency improves, as the agreement improves, the details that come out will be of a higher detail and with higher confidence that we pass along to the viewer.
And isn't it interesting that in certain seasons, in certain years, certain models are performing better, and so we lean on those models, and that does evolve, which is kind of a really interesting thing. Okay, so we're talking about now, it's 36, 48 hours before the snow is supposed to come, John, and we're going to go ahead and as a team put out numbers. How much will you be dealing with? How do we do that?
Well, I mean, you got to look at all the models, and especially when you're at 48 hours compared to 36 hours for a viewer or somebody at home, that might not sound like a lot of time, right? It's about the same day, but at 48 hours, the actual low might not be in development yet in the actual planes where we need the low to be, which is usually or typically around 36 hours. At that time, we like to see the model agreement start to come together from the long-term models to the short-term models, and that's the key. Short-term models, a lot of them only go 36 hours out. So we want to be able to match the short-term models with the long-term, and we come up with numbers that we're all confident with before we put out our team forecast.
And we'd love to be able to put those models out or those numbers out 7 days in advance. We'd love to have that confidence earlier, but the bottom line is the science just isn't that good, but it does get better, and it has gotten better over the years in those short-term models. There's more short-term models, and that's exactly right. So once we get there, that is when we actually have a forecast that we all agree on. We all talk and have a text thread. This is how it works. And then if it is going to be impactful, we put out a weather warn day. And when we put out a weather warn day that we started a couple of years ago, we changed the colors to red because we want you to know that this is possibly going to be impacting you. You're driving, how much you're going to shovel. Maybe you're going to change plans. Maybe you're going to cancel things. Maybe you're going to move things around in your calendar. And that is because we have gotten the confidence to put that forecast out. And we don't take that lightly. No. We don't take that lightly. All right, this has been fun. We're going to come back and talk about why we love winter in just a little while. But of course, winter also can be dangerous. So we're going to kind of lay that out coming up in our special Weathering the Seasons Winter. Wow, that was some wicked wind. That was actually a snowstorm that happened back in 2022 in Blue Earth County. Well, the cold is enough to make you shiver, but add in the wind and it's even more dangerous. Jamie walks us through the ins and outs of wind chills and how that impacts your body.
If you've experienced a Minnesota or Wisconsin winter, then you've experienced wind chill. The wind chill temperature is how cold people and animals feel when outside in windy winter weather. It's based on the rate of heat loss of exposed skin caused by the wind and colder weather. Now, as those winds strengthen, they pull away heat from your skin, which in turn will lower your internal body temperature. This will make it feel much colder outside than the actual air temperature, and this will eventually lead to frostbite, and that's when the skin freezes. The most susceptible parts are the fingers, toes, ears, and nose. Symptoms of frostbite are a loss of feeling or tingly feeling and a white or pale appearance to the skin. You want to get immediate medical attention and slowly re-warm using warm, not hot water.
Well, here in Minnesota, of course, we're very proud of our 10,000 lakes, and we all know there's actually 13,000 if you count all the ponds, and even more in Wisconsin, but that's controversial. Bottom line, they all freeze up this time of year, and you want to go out on them. A lot of folks love to get out doing all sorts of sports, of course, ice fishing being the number one. But what if you suddenly fall through? How do you keep yourself safe? Rena takes a look.
We teamed up with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to walk through the steps of a self-rescue with no equipment. Cameras to catch all the angles.
Anytime you are, Joe.
And one really brave soul willing to take a dunk in the drink again and again. Before we get to it, let's dispel a myth. Yes, hypothermia is an issue, but you're more likely to drown first.
You're not going to start experiencing the effects of hypothermia for 30 to 40 minutes after you've gone through the water. So you've got actually quite a bit of time, a lot more than you would think, before hypothermia becomes an issue. The real threat to you right away is going to be drowning.
That's why the most important step is step 1. Don't panic.
You've got about a minute of time to kind of think through what you're going to do.
Take some time to get your wits about you. Your first instinct is going to be to panic and try and get yourself out as quick as possible. But if you're doing that, you're not going to be thinking about the further steps you need to do to get yourself out. You're going to want to make sure you turn around and go back to the ice you came from. That's a very important step. You know that ice was good enough to hold you at one point, so it's most likely going to be your strongest ice. Well, even if you don't think there's anyone around, yell out, call for help.
Spread your arms out so you spread the weight out, and then just start kicking your feet.
He's got his upper body in his hands as much as he can get out on the ice that'll hold him. And he's going to start kicking his legs up to get himself as horizontal as possible before he starts trying to pull himself up on the ice. He doesn't want to stand up right away because he could fall right back through, so he's going to roll away from the hole in the direction you came from. And once you have rolled a significant distance away from the hole and you know you're on some good ice, you can come up to your hands and knees, crawl away from that area, and then once you're on some really solid ice, you can stand up again and begin to walk away.
Walk away. That's the whole point and the best ending to any
That's hard work getting out of the ice.
fall through the ice story.
Well, of course, we all know our roads can be dangerous during winter storms, and even the smallest amount of snow or sleet can create plenty of crashes and spinouts. There are actually 2 things scientifically we find out to be mindful of when you're driving in the winter. Gordon Severson takes a look.
You got to make sure you're giving a good amount of space, especially in this weather.
But how much is enough? In perfect conditions, Lieutenant Gordon Shank says 3 to 5 seconds. That means if a car ahead of you passes a sign, you should pass that same sign 3 to 5 seconds later.
Another way to think about it is 3 to 4 car lengths. That's the amount of space you should leave between you and the car ahead of you. And that's under normal conditions, when it's not raining or snowing like this. But what does that actually look like? Here's what that looks like, but remember, this is under normal conditions. What about snow like this? Well, MnDOT says when it comes to plows, you should leave 10 car lengths. And here's what that looks like. But when it comes to regular cars on the road, the State Patrol says it should be somewhere between these two. It all depends on how fast you're going and what conditions are like on the road.
Minnesota winters are vicious, and that's why you need to know what to put in your car for an emergency weather kit. Starting with the basics. Always have a jacket and gloves in your car. Seems basic, but it's easy. Also, come on, Minnesota, have to have a scraper. These are the ones where it gets a little more advanced, but I think it's great when you have kids. My kids love having a blanket in the car. Put a blanket in the car, they can always warm themselves up. This one I think is very important and a little more tricky, traction. So we have sand in our truck that we could throw down if needed. You could also use kitty litter if you don't want a big bag of sand. Bottled water, you need to have it in there, but again, in and out of your car because obviously it gets below 0. And batteries because you should have a flashlight on you.
Well, this 4th amazing season in Minnesota is unique in so many ways, from the natural wonders it creates to the people that crave the cold and snow and love to venture out to enjoy it. Coming up next, we share some of our KARE 11 team's favorite winter tales.
This is an ode to the black-capped chickadee. First off, they can eat half their weight in seeds and bugs in a single day. Each night, chickadees go into a regulated hypothermia, which means they actually lower their body temperature by as much as 15 degrees to conserve energy. Studies show they can lose up to 10% of their body weight through the night as they shiver to stay warm.
Well, chickadees aren't the only ones that thrive in winter. For plenty of folks that live in Minnesota and Wisconsin, winter is something that makes our states so special. Take a look at the winter wonders from Boyd Hubert and the rest of our KARE 11 team. What they have found over the years is amazing.
It's awesome. It's beautiful.
At Apostle Island's National Lakeshore, the cruelest of winters has delivered the kindest of views.
This is the blessing of the polar vortex.
Remnants of lake waves form the base, and seepage through porous sandstone the ceilings.
You've got the little hoarfrosts on the icicles.
Crystal chandeliers.
Really pretty.
And columns that would dwarf a southern mansion.
Mother Nature does the best artwork, and she's done a beautiful job.
If you've ever wondered what happens when Minnesota elements meet Midwestern resolve,
All right, we're ready. Let's do it.
you may have found your answer. On a recent morning at Lake Harriet in Minneapolis.
We embrace the North.
You just feel alive afterwards.
Really, it's not such a far-fetched idea that a city of fish houses should have at least one neighborhood bar. So Josie Norgren decided if ice plays so well in your drink, why not under it, too?
It's kind of like a college frat party in here.
If your frat house
got a fish,
has a cellar stocked with sunnies and 12 feet of water, Minnesotans are used to making circles in the ice.
Something nibbling on it.
But lately, our winter circles have been getting an upgrade.
Fingers crossed.
Chuck Swilling first saw an ice carousel 2 winters ago on YouTube. A Finlander named Jana had cut the circle in the ice, viewed online by hundreds of thousands of people.
We got about 8 feet done, only 1,342 more feet to go.
That would be roughly a quarter mile around the world's largest ice carousel.
Levi's going to be doing a backflip over Nicollet Mall. Levi Lavalley to do the 100-foot jump. It's crazy.
3, 2, 1.
21 feet wide, snaking through town on the Warroad River, an ice path 2.5 miles long.
We're in Hockeytown, USA, so go big.
As Jared Olofsson tells it, this started with a slew of COVID-inspired outdoor ice rinks.
There's no school, there's no hockey, connect the rinks. So we connected the rinks and decided, why even stop? Keep going.
The Coast Guard cutter Alder has spent 2 days breaking ice in the Duluth Superior Harbor, clearing an escape for the freighters frozen tight in their berths. 2 diesel engines cranking 6,200 horse push the ship's reinforced hull up onto the ice, which collapses under the stress, but not without a fight.
Can never be in a bad mood when you're building a snowman.
Andy Hoisington would know.
You want to try it?
The man at the center of the crowd.
It's cool, isn't it?
Is the father of Faribault Frosty.
The scarf is 25 feet long.
The 5-ton, 20-foot snowman occupying Andy's front yard.
Of course, the little kids are just like, whoa, this is really big.
In Minnesota, when it snows, you make a snowman. But when it's 2 degrees outside, you freeze your pants off.
I just think it's a fun thing to do. It's cold in Minnesota and, we can make our pants stay up. I just ran them through the washing machine and brought them out after the spin cycle.
I think it's going to stay till spring. That's just kind of what we do.
Well, coming up next, you help us tell the winter story. You really do. And we're going to share your pictures and let you know why my team loves winter so much. Well, winter in Minnesota, of course, people either love it or hate it.
Yeah.
We all love it. We are all from here. We all grew up here. We all interned here at KARE 11. Now we get to all work together. So winter in Minnesota for me, I think over the years, I'm a mom of 2 slalom skiers. My husband and I met skiing. I love downhill skiing. I love the fact that I get to go out with my Bernese Mountain Dogs in the snow. They love it. I know you have dogs too.
Yes, my beagles have always loved the snow.
Beagles, yes.
Regardless of where we've lived, if it is snowing, our beagles are just they're out running around in it. And like you, the skiing, the downhill skiing, the cross-country skiing, absolute favorite winter
And I know
sports.
you've been all over the country in a lot of warm climes. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're back to do that. All right, let's talk fishing. Ben?
Well,
because you're a fisherman all the time.
All about ice fishing. My favorite time of year is the early ice, where it's just barely safe enough to walk on. At least 4 inches of solid, clear ice. Growing up in Chisago City, out on Green Lake, we'd always go tip-up fishing. There's pictures of me with this like 8-pound walleye, you know. So it's stuck with me, and I think it really brings out the child in you.
Yeah, and I know you've brought your girls out there, and I know that's such a fun thing. You like fishing too?
I love it. I love fishing, summer fishing, winter fishing. Same with the kids. I go out and sleep in the middle of Lake of the Woods every year in the middle of January. It's 50 below out every time.
In a shack, though, right? Not, you know, out on a...
No, I mean, sometimes I hear the coyotes, and it, you know, it gets a little wild.
That's pretty remarkable.
It's really crazy. It's one of the coolest things you can do in Minnesota, and I think you just got to breathe, sleep, and eat the crazy weather. You know?
Well, out of all of us, you're our newest member, and we're so glad that you have joined our team. We so appreciate it. And I know you're up very, very early, driving in that winter weather, and
you gotta
Sunrise
be a little
team.
crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Winter crazy.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's Sunrise, 4, 5, 6, or 10, or BTN, or Saturday morning, or the weekends. You help us tell the winter story. You're the ones who give us the amazing images that we're able to share with everybody, and we appreciate that you have confidence in our forecasting, and we appreciate your pictures. So thanks again for watching, and enjoy the winter.